Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. I always appreciate that you guys do that. But guess what? We are starting the 2025 season of the Unagi Observer. Yeah, we've been around for a little while. So we're going to start off this season, and just to recap real quick, we're going to be doing, as always, anime and manga reviews here, but we're going to talk a little bit more about science fiction this season. And for our theme, for our 5 episodes with a watch at the end of it, we're going to be talking about Toonami / Adult Swim, the history of it, and some of the shows that came onto both of those TV shows that we know and love and gave us so much anime over the years. So we're going to be talking about that. But this first episode, you've got some stuff. We got some stuff to talk about. I actually had to rejigger this entire episode because originally I was going to do a manga and an anime review of a older anime and start off the season that way. Well, those two things are still going to happen, but we're also going to talk about Mobile Suit Gundam quirks. That's the best way I can pronounce this. GQuuuuux. I think that's the end part of the title. So I happen to have seen that in the theater. The first 3 episodes, I'm guessing they combined into a movie in the movie theater, and it was pretty awesome. But I'm gonna have to say some spoilers. So there's going to be some timestamps down below. So if you want to avoid all that, you can. Don't worry, I'm going to put up a spoiler alert. It's going to come up after the manga review, and I'll give you time to go on to the next anime that I originally reviewed, and we'll go on from there. Okay, so why don't we just go ahead and get started with the video and the season. All right, let's start with a manga review. What are we going to review? We're going to review Search and Destroy by Atsushi Kaneko. There it is. You saw the picture. Here it is again. And as it says on the cover, it's based on Dororo by Osamu Tezuka. Now, if you don't know your Tezuka and you don't know Dororo, let me give you a brief idea of what that particular manga is about. Tezuka wrote and drew this manga back in 1969. And basically, the story there, I'm going to try to keep it short, is that a evil father takes his child and has 48 demons, gives a piece of the child's body to 48 different demons. So 48 different body parts are given to these demons so they can run amok on Earth. Meanwhile, his trade for it, what he gets out of it, the father, is that he gets wealth and power. So before he can kill the lipless, eyeless, tongueless baby, the mother hides the baby, sends him down the river like Moses, where a medicine man finds him and takes care of him. The mother did that because the father was going to kill him. Okay, that is, that was part of the deal. So the medicine man takes care of him and creates these limbs for the child, and so the child can move around, eyes and tongue and various other body parts. And the medicine man discovers what's happened, what's going on here, and figures out, and tells the Hyaku, this is the name of the child, hey, if you go out and slay these 48 demons, you can retrieve the body parts, and they'll magically become part of your body again. So you can be whole again. You just have to hunt down these 48 demons. So that is the scope of Tezuka's manga. Along the way, he meets, Hyaku meets a thief, a young orphan thief called Dororo, that's the title, who assists him on his quest to get his body parts back. So, Search and Destroy is actually technically a co-production between Atsushi Kaneko and Tezuka Productions. If you are interested in this, you can get this through Phantom Graphics. I'll put the link down below. You can find it pretty much anywhere. It's a fairly recent manga, started in 2019. I think it wrapped up in 2021. So you can find this anywhere. I got this copy out of a library, out of the Enoch Pratt Free Library. Support your local libraries. I'm a big proponent for libraries, so make sure you support them. But it's only 3 volumes. Pretty quick read. So the story on this is basically we're in a world in the future where robots have more rights, and there's this kind of like humanity is sort of starting to kind of fall below robots in terms of who's on top, who has more power and kind of thing. So there's this power struggle between the two going on, but it's behind the scenes. So there's like a functional government and things like that. But like, for example, the robots they create their own yakuza of all things and stuff like that. And so you're in this world, and the humans and the robots discriminating against each other. Hyaku, remember in Dororo, that's Hyaku, but this time it's a woman. And when she was a child, what happened was that 48 robots wanted to have certain sensations or ability to do human things. So the person who was taking care of her as a child basically said, okay, here's a body part for you, here's eyes for you, a tongue for you, arm for you, leg for you, liver for you. So all these different body parts, 48 different body parts to 48 different robots. You're seeing the similarities, right? It's literally an adaptation of Tezuka's original Dororo. And so Hiraku is in search of these robots and trying to get her body parts back so she can be a whole human again. She has various, like, for example, her hands have like retractable blades. Her legs are super strong. She has photosynthetic eyes. A fake tongue. The whole 9 yards. And again, she comes across, as she's hunting down the robots that have her body parts, she comes across a thief who a young girl lives in the sewers, who helps her, starts to help her find these body parts. And much like in the original manga, she has already found a number of body parts already. So she is able to start putting herself back together. This is fairly well drawn. The plot is fast moving. It's kind of very quick, very violent. This is not for the kiddos. It's fairly graphic in terms of the violence, but it's pretty well done. I like the art in here. Let me show you a good picture of the art. If I can find something that doesn't have like total blood and guts everywhere. Well, I'm probably not gonna be able to do that, but give you an idea. Very easy to read. It's easy to follow, especially if you already know Dororo. If you know Dororo, you're going to find the plot of this very almost exactly the same, just set in a cyberpunk dystopian future. Should you read it? Is this good? Would you enjoy it? Yes, but you kind of have to have that science fiction cyberpunk bent. If you like that kind of thing. Again, this is going to be hyper violent. There's dismemberment, there's gore, some of the stuff that happens in here, you're just like going, was that really necessary? It's a cool picture, but was it necessary? I really enjoyed it, actually. I liked it. I am wondering if they could ever make an anime out of this. They made an anime out of the original Dororo. But Search and Destroy, I don't know. So I've read volume 1, and I'm looking forward to reading the other 2 volumes. I think I want to finish this. So should you read it? Like I said, you need to have a science fiction cyberpunk bent. You have to be okay with violence and gore. And if you are okay with those things, with those ideas, then this is a very good, I think so far in volume 1, a good adaptation of the original Tezuka manga. I think this is, if you're a fan of Tezuka, this will be a kind of an interesting side step to take to see how people interpret his work. I am not really familiar with Kaneko's work, but based on this, I'm willing to try out some of his other manga. So, yes, if those categories are okay with you, if you fall into those categories, like for example, here we go. If you like Chainsaw Man, you'll like this. Okay, nothing mystical about this. This is all science, but it's that level of violence, humor. There's a little bit of humor, not a whole lot. Humor, and a good story behind it, an interesting story. So yeah, check it out. And again, see if your local library has it. And if they do, check it out. And again, support your local library. All right, we are going to do the review of Mobile Suit Gundam Quirks. So that's how I'm pronouncing it. If you have a better pronunciation or if you know the proper pronunciation, please let me know. But that's what I'm going to say for now, Quirks. So at this point, if you don't want to hear some spoilers, go down below. You should see a timestamp for Planet Taste, which is going to be the next anime review after this. So you can skip to that and to the end if you should want to do so. So if you don't want spoilers, then I'll give you a moment here so that you can just look at the timestamp and click away, and just know that you were warned. I told you there would be spoilers, so you can't get on me for watching this and seeing the spoilers. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment here. Count to 10. Okay, like the lollipop ad. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's 6, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You're warned, spoilers coming up. Here's the review of Mobile Suit Gundam Quirks. Okay, so let's go over some details first, and let's go over some of the particulars. I'm not sure when we're going to get it on Crunchyroll or when we're going to get it here. I believe it's going to be on Prime as well. So if you have Amazon Prime, it will eventually get there, I believe. It should be dropping on NNS Nippon TV, I believe, on April 8th. And this is actually a television series. But what we're seeing in the theater is basically 81 minutes, basically the first 3 episodes as a movie, as they are wont to do. So it's a co-production between Sunrise and Studio Kara. This is going to be, it's said to be the 16th installment of the Gundam franchise. There's a lot of Gundam out there, not just these 16 episodes. This is set in a universal century, kind of. But before we get into that, this is directed by Kazuya Sorowaki and written by Yoji Inokito. And if that name sounds familiar, because he wrote scripts for Sailor Moon, Evangelion, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Fooly Cooly, one of my favorites, or in a high school host club, Bungo Stray Dogs, and a whole list of others. And he has a co-writer. You might have heard of him. Hideaki Anno? Does that name sound familiar at all for any reason? But yes, he's a co-writer. So again, I'm not exactly sure when we're going to get it on Crunchyroll. Probably in April as well. And if you have Crunchyroll or if you have Prime, it looks like it will probably be on Prime as well. Then you're going to have a fun time. But this 81-minute movie might still be in the theater. So check your local theaters. And if it's in the movie theater, by all means, go to the movie theater and watch it. Because it's really good on the big screen. Really, really good. The animation is pretty much top quality. You're going to see some Fooly Cooly vibes in there. The first few minutes of the movie is actually shot for shot of the first episode of when when Char brings in his team of Zaku's to the side to see if the Gundam is there. So it's almost shot for shot type of thing. It's really good. It is, if you are looking for mecha action, you're definitely going to get that. That is what you're going to get. So, so that's kind of the particulars right there. So let's go into the plot a little bit. So this is where we get into spoiler territory, obviously. It takes place in Universal Century, and like I said, it goes shot for shot for the first episode of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, first episode, but it skews away once Char and his sergeant are in there, are in the side, and they're kind of observing everything, and they get to the point where they notice that there's no traffic going on, and things of that nature, and they realize that there's an evacuation that's happening. But they also determine that the evacuation has happened, meaning everybody but Federation forces are off. They're off the side. Nobody's there except for those guys. So they're looking at the base, and as they're scanning through the base, they see, of course, the Gundam, just like they did in the original episode. Char looks at it and says, "Cover me. I'm going to check out that Gundam." So there's no battle going on. Like in the original episode where Amuro's and Frau are trying to get to the shelter and things are blowing up, people are dying, and Amuro's trying to buy people time, so he gets into the cockpit with the notebook and he's looking through the notebook and he's operating the Gundam and doing the thing and buying people time to get into the shelter. None of that. It's very quiet. Char's able to sneak into the Gundam. As he's figuring the Gundam out, yes, he's in the cockpit figuring the Gundam out. He's able to make it stand. As it's standing, the Federation forces figure out, oh crap, someone's stealing the Gundam. So the sergeant starts blowing crap up. That's when the battle starts. As we're getting the shot for shot almost, we see Amuro's father for about 5 seconds saying, "Who's piloting the Gundam?" And that's it. Amuro is not in this at all. Nope, not there. Char successfully steals the Gundam. Not only does he successfully steal the Gundam, but he's able to return with Zaku forces to steal White Base. So they take White Base, so no Commander Bright. They take White Base and the Gundam, and they create a unit out of it. And of course, they load other Zakus on there, and they are loading specialized Gundam and ships. You see all the different styles of Zeon ships and mecha that are used, but they're using White Base. They paint it green. I forget what they call it. They call it something else. And while they're doing that, Char enlists the help of Shalabul and says, "Hey, look, you might be a new type. I know I'm a new type. And we got technology that actually will improve this Gundam, which is really good, but it's going to improve it. And our mission right now is to stop this war. Nobody can win this war, but everybody can lose it. So we got to figure out a way to do this. And once I do that, then we're going to take on the Zabi family." So Char learns of a plan of the Federation forces, where the Federation forces are going to take the Solomon's asteroid and slam it into the moon, killing everybody on the moon because Zeon forces control it. And as the Zeon commander, or the Federation commander, goes, "Well, maybe this will force a peace, but we're going to slam this crap right in there and kill as many as we can." That's basically what he's saying. So Char is tasked by Zeon to stop this. He doesn't want to stop it because Cassilia is on the moon, and of course he wants revenge on the Zabis for killing his father, Daikun. So he has every intent of this thing smashing into the moon. But as he's in there, his new type activates again, and things go weird. Very, very weird. Solomon is thrown off course. The moon is saved. Earth is saved. And everyone just kind of has a oh crap moment. And everyone just kind of looked at each other and just said, "Oh my God, we literally just had another one of these where you guys dropped the side on us first and we were just about to kill millions of people by dropping this asteroid. This has got to stop." So the war stops and the Federation backs off. So Zeon, the Principality of Zeon, wins space. So they go back into space. They have the moon. They have space. The Federation has just Earth. So 5 years later, after the war, oh, by the way, when the weird thing happens on Solomon, Char disappears. We don't know where he's gone. Now, Shalabul is tasked to also try and find him. So he's flying around with White Base and various things. By the way, at this point, the red Gundam, they paint it red. And the Gundam was lost during the Solomon debacle as well. So nobody knows where this Gundam is. Flash forward 5 years. Sides in space. Some of them are not really happy with the Principality of Zeon. You kind of get this, not like revolution, rebellion, or anything like that, but people are just kind of like, I'm really not liking this. And so then we're introduced to this girl, Amistad, who is running around, trying to get to school. She's looking on her phone. She bumps into somebody. It's a refugee who is a courier who, slips a thing into the girl's backpack and then later comes on and tries to retrieve it. The girl they discover that it's a ignition key, a combat ignition key for new types in mechas that are capable of supporting new types. They sort of figure that out just by accident. The girl stumbles into, originally this courier was supposed to get it to a group who do what's called clan battles, where they find old mecha that are just floating in space, rehab it, and then they sneak out into space outside the side and they have a battle, and the pilot who is able to knock off the head off of another mecha wins the fight, and they win money. So the police get involved. As this is happening, Char believes that the Red Comet has been seen, the actual Gundam has been seen at this side, so they send in a kid who's supposed to be a new type. The kid can't activate the new type, and he gets captured. And so the girl manages, while the police are trying to get him, she gets out of the old junk mecha, gets into that dude's mecha, puts in the ignition key, and it works. She's a new type. She doesn't even know she's a new type, but it works. And so she's flying around, and as she's flying around, again, she kind of drops it off with the clan and walks away. And they said, hey, do you want to do a clan battle? She does a clan battle, but she needs a person, what's called a MOV, a second person with them. And she finds this dude that's kind of like weirdly not there. And he goes, I have a mecha. It's the Red Gundam. And that's where I'm going to stop with the plot, because it goes on a little bit further, but just know that it goes on. It's just going to go crazy from there. Like I said, the animation is really, really good on this. It's really nice, nicely detailed. The actions, you're going to enjoy it. Definitely, if you're a mecha person, you're going to love this thing. I can't wait for it to come out on Crunchyroll and Prime. Once I find out the date on that, I'm sure it's out there somewhere right now. I just can't find it. Once I know, I'll let you guys know. If you happen to see it at the movie theater in your listings, please spend the money, go out and see it, because it is so magnificent on the large screen. I'm so glad that I was able to be talked into actually going out and seeing this in the movie theater as opposed to waiting for it. So obviously, I'm telling you to go see it if you can. So I'm going to be looking forward to this series coming up in April. I believe that's when it's going to, sometime in April, we're going to get that. But if you can see it in the theater, go see it in the theater. 2 thumbs up. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is an anime called Planetes. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It is a hard science fiction anime. For those of you who don't know what that means, a hard science fiction is a genre of science fiction where the author tries to use as much correct physics as possible to tell their story. So this is kind of one of those things where it's just like the technology isn't necessarily made up, like there's no Manevsky particles like there is in Gundam. This is actual real, supposed to be as real as possible physics as it is in space. So that's hard science fiction. This anime has that hard science fiction bent to it. So before we get into the plot and all that good stuff, let's talk about some of the particulars here. Let's take a look at the notes. So it started off in Kononasha's morning manga magazine, ran from January 1999 to January 2004. Of course, you can buy it in manga books, several volumes of that. It also got obviously the anime treatment. It started in October 2003 on NHK and ended a year later or so in April 2004. So I had a nice little run there, 26 episode run. And it actually won some awards. So not only the manga but the anime as well, for the hard science fiction story. It's very well thought of, but it's a very early 2000s anime. So expect that kind of anime animation. Like the moment you watch it, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's early 2000s, late 1990s. But don't let that detract you from watching it because it's actually pretty good. So let's get into the plot of this. So the plot of this is that basically it's the series starts very grim, actually. And it shows a suborbital shuttle carrying people from one point to the planet to the other. And you see this little tiny screw floating in space. It hits the window, one of the port windows of the shuttle that's carrying all these people as if it were like a jet airliner. And of course, big tragedy happens. And so that's the setup to say that there are various companies in orbit, in space stations, and they do various things like as if they were jet companies, doing suborbital shuttles going from A to B, and also going from to the moon, to Mars, that kind of a thing. The year's 2075, by the way. And so they have these teams on each of these companies that, are debris collectors. That's it. They go out into these little spaceships and they go out and they clean up debris. And the point of doing that is to prevent tragedies of something smacking into another space station, a satellite that's needed, or another shuttle that's carrying a whole bunch of people on it, and so they just kind of physically collect it and move it out of the way, or they position it with a rocket with which to either send it further out into space or into orbit where it'll burn up. So that's the job. That's what they do. And each episode kind of covers not necessarily a mission base as if it were military, but basically each job has its unique things that it talks about. So the crew is in the debris section is basically understaffed, aging equipment, stuff like that. It's that typical kind of underdog kind of feel to it. The young person that's coming in, Tanabe, is this young woman in her 20s who shows up and wants to be an astronaut, and this is actually what she starts doing. So she's of course a goofball screw up kind of thing. You have the experienced shuttle captain that flies out this spaceship to collect the debris called the Toy Box. Her co-pilot is a guy named Yuri. You have two management types. One is a wannabe magician. The other one's on the verge of retirement. There's a temp. There's an actual temp. And of course, in terms of EVA, of the people in the suits going out and collecting them, is going to be Tanabe and this other guy named Hachi. And Hachi is the grizzled, loudmouth, crude veteran, of course. And so everyone has their hopes and dreams and of what they're trying to do. And as these missions go on, they kind of access their dreams, their goals, and things of that nature. And I'm 3 episodes. I gave the 3-episode treatment as I normally do with a new anime. And I haven't gotten a sense of an overarching plot yet. But each episode seems to be a little bit episodic, but you kind of get the idea that each episode is leading up to something. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. The hard science here, what I appreciate about it is the attempt to use hard science, talking about gravity, how you move in gravity, mass and density in gravity. You're talking about orbital structures, meaning that, just because you're flying in space doesn't mean that you can just deviate from a flight plan and everything will be hunky-dory. There's things that have to happen, things that happen well ahead of time. This is fairly well researched by someone who is not a scientist or a physicist or an astronaut. So I appreciate the very good attempt at hard science fiction here. And I say attempt, and that's really probably the wrong word, because it works really, really, really well. And like I said, the animation is definitely late 90s, early 2000s, but it's fun. It's movement. You don't have a lot of downtime kind of thing going on. I'm not saying it's necessarily packed full of action, but there's always some type of movement so your eyes don't get bored, so to speak. even though there's not much in terms to talk about of the plot, there are things that go on. There are, like, for example, Hachi has a friend that is being successful, and he's a little bit, he loves his friend, but he also is just a little bit just like, what am I doing with my life? Tanabe is kind of like, I'm the plucky heroine of this, and I got something to prove. The rest of the crew, of course, is going through the motions of doing the thing, trying to do the right thing, stuff like that. You have stories of the first story, of course, is Tanabe's introduction. Second story is talking about revisiting a piece of debris that Hachi screwed up on 3 years prior, and now it's back in orbit. And the third episode I just watched was they actually found somebody's body in a casket in space, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it and what that involves. And that third episode is kind of funny because apparently they let all these insurance salesmen onto the space station, and like everyone who works on the space station is like trying to get away from all these salesmen. It's really kind of funny. And there's this one saleswoman that keeps dogging Hachi all the time, and she's the prettiest one, right? And it's the voice of the Major. It's that voice actress. So there you go. There's a lot of hey, it's that guys in this, in terms of the voice acting in this anime. I watched it with the English voice actors. I think it was perfectly fine. There's no sub-dub wars with me. So if I like it, I like it. I liked it. There you go. Should you watch this? Should this be something that you watch? I think you should. One of the reasons why I say that I think you should is that the author, the guy who wrote this, Makoto Yukimura, I hope I'm saying that right. Makoto Yukimura literally was in a library just kind of reading up on stuff. And, oh, by the way, support your local libraries. Libraries are cool. And he happened to come across this book that talks about how there's an increasingly amount of debris in space right now, like in real life, here orbiting our planet. And there's a lot of stuff up there, and there's a concern that there's going to be so much stuff up there that really bad accidents are going to happen. So there's this thought behind of going up into space and being one of the jobs, even though it's a boring kind of maintenance kind of job, is clearing out all this debris. It can be old fuel tanks, discarded fuel tanks, debris that falls off of the space station, or anything, a screw floating in space, like at the beginning of the anime. So things like that are actually in real life floating around up there, and they tend to mess with satellites. And whenever we send a shuttle up, we have to think about those things, all the different trajectories and stuff like that. So there's this, he came up with this idea of just like, he didn't come up with the idea, but he came up with the idea of making it into an anime, the thought of going up there and having a job to do, which is to clear all this crap out. So that was the basis of writing the manga. So his Yukimura's one of the few, he said one of the few influences they had was Arthur C. Clarke. For those of you who know your science fiction, Arthur C. Clarke is the guy who wrote 2001. He is big on hard science fiction. When you read his fiction, and I'll be talking about actually Clarke later on, but when you read his fiction, it's definitely, he tries to base it on hard science. So, a lot of stuff that he talks about is things that happen in real life, real physics, real consequences, and things of that nature. So he wrote this manga, and of course it was given the anime treatment. And like I said, it's gotten a couple of awards over the years. So yeah, you really should check this out. It is, again, I'm on episode 3, gave it the three episode treatment. I don't have a sense that this is like drama with a capital D, but I think there is something thoughtful. I think it's thoughtful, what's being done with it, what the stories are being thoughtful. Someone's clearly thinking it through, and each story is enjoyable. So yeah, it's not going to be any Full Metal Alchemist or the new Ranma 1/2 reboot, which is really good, or anything like that. But I think this is one of those anime where if you want to sit down and watch something that's of quality, I think Planetes is something worthwhile. I really do. So it's on Crunchyroll. I'm sure you can find it also on free on some streaming services. I'm sure the manga is out there. You can probably buy the DVD, whatever. But it is definitely on Crunchyroll. So if you have Crunchyroll, there you go. Yeah, give it a try. All right, so that is it for the first episode of the Unagi Observer 2025. We got a great manga for you to take a look at, Search and Destroy. We have a wonderful Gundam movie, Mobile Suit Gundam Quirks, and of course an older anime which you should check out called Planetes. So all those things, good things to start off the season with. And we'll see what we got coming up next week. So you guys got to be good. You got to stay healthy because I want to see you out in the world. I also want you to watch next week's episode. But I really want to see you guys out there, maybe at a convention or something. If you happen to see me, come up and say hi. I would really love that. So yeah, so be well, be safe. Love you guys. And as always, watch more anime.